I don't know what we're supposed to do. Blake's not here.
We're way too dependent on him now. Hello? Hello, humans.
Is anyone out there?
I guess we are now supposed to be pastorally welcoming people. Hello, peoples of the internets.
Good day, all. If Blake decides to check out the Q&A podcast, he can appreciate the little shout out and show just how much we need him.
I think that's an anti-shout out. Complete
Why?
silence.
You're silent?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, Blake's not here.
Yeah.
He's away for a few days, so it's just the two of us. Still have the glass partition, so that we can argue, and I can't punch you when you're a heretic. But
we should have had this long before there was a virus around.
Sorry, we started a couple of minutes late. Our Mac did not want to connect to YouTube, and so the interwebs weren't working, and we're going to blame the Apple product.
Yeah,
but
that's what Doug always does.
Good morning to Laura Lynn and Vanessa. Thank you for your patience, assuming you're still here.
Yeah. You were here at one point, so we'll give you credit for that at the very least.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's jump into our questions. We got two of them.
oh, so you're going to be the host?
Well, I've got a lot more experience at this than you do, so with Blake out of here, I may as well default
You got
back.
more experience at what?
At hosting the Q&A podcast of Living Springs.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. You got fired, if you remember, and replaced by Blake.
Fair. Well, I guess you are the big boss. Would you like to do it yourself? Or
No, I'm good. You can go
I
ahead.
figured
I
as
just-
much.
I just
I
like
knew
to
you
give-
just wanted to poke at
I
something.
just like to give you a difficult time.
I know, and I enjoy it. I'm willing to go.
So-
All right, what will a youth group look like when things go back to normal?
Okay, I love this question. I appreciate everyone's desire to try and figure out these things. And hey, Vanessa's still here. And if I'm being honest, we're still figuring stuff out. We don't. Kyle is overseeing and working with youth and the youth leaders, and he has been. But honestly, right now, getting relaunch going, and then probably over the summer, we'll be evaluating everything and looking at what we can do and how we can do it and what's the best way to do it. And do we keep some of the things we were doing during COVID? Do we change some of the things we were doing COVID? I have no answers. I don't think any of us do. And I think if we sat here telling you this is what it's going to look like, it would be disingenuous because we don't exactly know.
Yeah.
We are starting from scratch. I know a lot of churches, as soon as they could reopened and just continued to do what they were doing before. And that wasn't what we did. That wasn't the path we took. And now we find ourselves in this wild place where the church has been in this cocoon state for 16 months. And I am really praying hard and believing hard that during this cocoon period, there has been a transformation that has taken place, that hopefully when we begin to emerge from the cocoon, we will see this new thing. So to sit here right now and give some definitive answers of what things might look like, I'm sorry to tell you, we don't have those answers just yet. Mm-hmm. We know we want to not be a church that just runs a million programs. And that just feeds consumeristic Christianity. And please don't take that in a bad way. I'm not insulting anyone in this church, but it can be really easy for people to go, I go to church to get my needs met, not my knees met. I go to church to get my needs met, and that's great, and that's wonderful, and that's what they're there for, instead of understanding we're all the church, and we need to all be a part in this together. And so I think this is going a lot deeper than maybe the person who asked the question wanted it to go.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is the honest answer, and I don't have much clarity, but I know we want there to be a real sense of community. We want our youth to be ministered to. We want our youth to be encouraged and helped. We want every person to have that. But what exactly that looks like, I don't have an answer for you yet, and I don't think you do either.
Yeah, like with all that said, I can give you some hopes for our youth group and what we'd like to do. The new way we've been operating for the last year has absolutely not been without issue. I think some of our issues have been a result of COVID restrictions, especially ups and downs with not being able to meet in person, being able to meet in person, going back and forth from online. That my hope would be to continue to give it a little bit of a shot. of these smaller groups, leader dependent, able to meet with just their leaders and their core group of kids is the hope. Before COVID was a thing, that was also our plan. But those took some new shape and new form to have to meet here. The ultimate hope was to be able to let them meet in coffee shops and in homes and like just off church locations. So I still hope to be able to try those eventually. We haven't been able to give that a fair shot. But yeah, with everything that's relaunching, we don't know anything for sure. But our hope is to be having people together in relationship as they work out the relationship with Jesus is the ultimate hope. So that's what you can count on and take that into the bank with you.
Yeah. I personally, I think everything that we were looking at before COVID and the things we were working on before COVID, they all have to be re-examined.
Yeah.
And I'm just in this place where I'm like, I don't know. I think I just feel like everything is new and everything is unknown, and we're stepping into this new thing, and we're going to try and work it out together as a church.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So
that's that one.
I hope that's a satisfactory answer. But yes, we want it to be something where our youth can grow in their relationship with Christ and grow in community, not as this separate entity that's different from the rest of the church, but as a part of the church whole, while they can still have time to connect with their friends.
Yeah, I look back to my youth days, and maybe this resonates with you too, Doug, but I look back and the things I remember are the relationships that I had and the adult support into my life. I barely remember an event. I sure as heck don't remember a single sermon or thing that was shared from my youth group days. None of those things matter, but I can remember the people who were pouring into my life and who shared Jesus with me, and I can only imagine that had underlying shaping of my person and who I am on my journey with Jesus today that I wouldn't have known, that I wouldn't be able to dissect and pull apart, but I don't remember the specifics of program. I remember the relationships. So that's
most people can't remember the sermon from 2 weeks ago. So
yeah, it's true. But those weren't the formative parts of youth ministry, and so we don't necessarily need them to count on them like they are the formative parts as we look ahead to how we're going to see our youth changed and shaped.
If you have thoughts and ideas, we'd love to hear them.
Yeah, absolutely. So to our next question. How should someone who's beginning to follow Jesus go about doing so in a house with someone who has left the church? It's definitely a touchy subject in our house, and I feel like I'm walking on eggshells with my beliefs.
I can appreciate this question. I can appreciate the difficult place where you are at. Absolutely. And I wish that I'd had a little more time before the podcast started to actually think about this question, because I think it's an important one. Yeah. I think love the person who has left the church is the number one thing. The number one thing we always need to do is love. Love them, whether they're going to go to church or not. And I would also say, like, I would encourage you to examine whether your relationship is one where you have the freedom to discuss and share between you and that significant other all aspects of your life. And if it is that, I think that's a healthier relationship, and then you can share those things without trying to be always constantly evangelizing them or telling them what they should do. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a fine line there, right? I think of Jesus commands us that we would be witnesses, which means we just tell what we're seeing, tell what we're experiencing, tell what God's doing. And in the church, we've turned that into go witness, which is an obligation. Go and share, tell people these 4 things, tell people these 5 things. And we always get off the heart of things and into the form of things. And so I would hope that your relationship's one where you have the ability to have those honest, good conversations. Just share. If your relationship with Jesus is becoming a part of your life, it's going to be something that you're going to talk about. And I would hope that your significant other would have, you'd have a healthy enough relationship where you could share as part of your life, this is something that's happening in my life. Whether they, at this point, agree with you or not on your relationship with Christ, whether they agree with you on your faith stance, that they'd be able to say, okay, cool, at the very least, I'm excited for you. Like, my wife's not into exercise near as much as I am, but she celebrates with me the things that I enjoy and that matter to me.
Yeah, I think the way that our church tries to live out faith doesn't have a big agenda to like check these things off the box, so to speak. So we've had lots of people in our church for a long time, and I'm not going to name them on the podcast, but I can think of many people who have for years been in relationships where they come to church, they're a big part of our community, and their spouse may not be. And I have enough insight into at least a couple of those relationships to know there's love and respect for that person's involvement in church and those pieces, and can affirm that because they see the benefit that it has in their life without them needing to be a part of it. And so I don't believe, especially growing up with so many friends that have had so many hurts from church, I don't think we can put a goal of getting that person into a church as the main goal. But I believe that living a life full of what Jesus wants to offer us can begin to speak for itself. And the first thing that came to mind was in Galatians 5, verses 23 through 25, when Paul's listening to the fruit of the Spirit, and one part in particular. It said, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control." And this is the part that really came to mind, but I'll read the rest past it too. "And against such things there is no law. Now those who belong to Christ have crucified the flesh together with its feelings and desires. If we live by the Spirit, we must also follow the Spirit. We must not become conceited, provoking one another, or envying one another." And that part, especially in my head, against such things there is no law. Like, nobody's going to ever have anything against you for walking those pieces of the fruit of the Spirit out. Can there absolutely be cautions and tensions around attending a church service and being a part of a church community? For sure. Can there be issues, to be honest, even around Bible reading or certain materials and media like this podcast? Absolutely. Those things could become contentious. But to walk out a life full of Spirit listed in the fruit of the Spirit, against such things there is no law. And so I think focusing on, and maybe I'm wrong, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but focusing on living that out without any agenda of getting the person to the same spot, at least not in our own timing, I think will speak for itself and can slowly be that invitation. When there have been so many church hurts, a full life in Christ can, I think, be the only thing that can invite and begin to heal some of those hurts. Though I know this isn't an easy journey, and there'll absolutely be ups and downs, and hopefully you can lean on some of those that you've connected with in our community to be able to help walk you through that when those moments are heavy as well.
Yeah, there are some scriptures, and I can only find one right now. That's why I wish I had more time, because there are some scriptures I think are applicable. But 1 Peter 3 says, "Likewise, wives, be subject to your own husbands, so that even if some do not obey the word, they may be won without a word by the conduct of their wives." And I don't think that's only a wife thing. I think Peter's speaking to wives in that situation, but the idea of let your light shine, just let the light shine for wives or husbands with an unbelieving spouse or significant other, that hopefully by the conduct of your life, they'd see the reality of Jesus and the difference he's making in your life.
Jesus has something like that at the end of the salt and light in the Sermon on the Mount as well. In the same way, let your light shine before people so they can see your good works and glorify your Father who's in heaven. Just this ability to share that, and then people will be welcomed into, maybe not even knowing. Lots of stories in the Bible where people are used by God or see God and all those pieces that don't even know him in the same way, just by the community that's out there living. So, yeah.
I appreciate this question though, and thank you for your heart in sharing it. Thank you for asking a tough question, and I'll definitely be praying for you.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. That's all our questions for this week.
So it turns out Blake's really long-winded.
I guess so. It's all Blake's fault.
Because when Blake's been here, they've gone much longer.
And we get along. So Blake is the cause of our tension.
I think so. Yeah. He's
so
the
Blake,
source of all problems.
You may be a referee, but you're also the cause of the need for a referee.
Blake.
Blake.
A guy.
On that awful note.
We miss you, Blake.
We'll see you next week, and I'm sure it'll be way more chaotic.
We need more questions.
We do need more questions.
We still need more questions. So if you have a question, and I'm speaking specifically right now to Laura Lynn, Vanessa, and Brock, who are the only 3 people we know who will watch this, because you are watching it, unless you just said good morning and left. But send us a question. We'd love some questions.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.